U.S. and South Korea to cooperate over Terra investigation. South Korea and the United States have agreed to share investigation data about the Terra network crash. U.S. and South Korean authorities have agreed to collaborate on the investigation of Terra's implosion, South Korea's Yonhap news agency reported on July 6th. South Korea's Justice Minister Han Dong-hoon I'm sorry. It's just, I'm already bad at pronouncing names, and when they're funny to me. Met with Andrea Griswold, co-chief of the Securities and Commodities Task Force, and Scott Hartman, chief of the Secretaries and Commodities Fraud Task Force at the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York. Yonhap news agency added that the two countries agreed to share investigation data about the Terra Luna network crash, which led to about $40 billion in losses. South Korea is investigating the possibility of fraud, tax evasion, and market manipulation on the parts of Terraform Labs, while the U.S. is probing Do Kwon and whether Terra USD breached certain regulations. Meanwhile, Terra's crash has birthed new crypto regulation efforts in several countries. South Korea has formed a new crypto committee to assess the crypto projects listed on crypto exchanges. In the U.S., there are reports that the government is working with Congress to formulate new stablecoin legislation that could come into effect before the end of this year. The United Kingdom government proposed several legislative amendments for crypto firms, including stablecoin issuers. Singapore's financial regulator is considering new blanket regulations to protect retail investors. Remember, be careful whenever they say to protect retail investors and they throw all that FUD out there. That is just code for we want to control what's happening here. And they're going to use examples like Terra Luna to basically be able to take control of it and add in more regulation. Meanwhile, the EU's market in crypto assets framework seeks to impose redemption reserve requirements on stablecoins to cover withdrawals, as well as a threshold for the daily transactions for the largest operators. So they also want to basically start putting in withdrawal limits on the public, which is to be expected because, you know, if you try to go withdraw too much of your own money from the bank, they won't let you do that because that's too much money for you, not for them. All right. Crypto mining profitability varies wildly based on location. So this is a fun one. A recent report from 9/11 Metallurgist explored the cost and profitability of crypto mining, finding that mining one Bitcoin will set you back anywhere between $1,400 to $246,000, depending on where you are. Cryptocurrency miners are considered one of the main drivers behind the crypto industry, but the latest market downturn has put the profitability of the once lucrative business into question. Falling crypto prices and rising electricity costs around the world mean miners operate on a very tight margin, and some might not even be profitable at all, according to a report from 9/11 Metallurgist on mining costs. The report estimates how expensive it is to mine the top three most popular proof-of-work currencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Dogecoin. The research considered the average price per kilowatt hour in every country in the world and then compared it to the energy required to mine every one of those tokens. Subtracting the average market price for the token left researchers with a rough estimate to how profitable mining is around the world. And this is an amazing chart. Now, you guys have probably seen the one for like, they also broke this down into essentially multiple regions. So you can go look at like individual costs within the United States. And for example, like the United States, like average is 21,000, but if you go to like Georgia, it's 13,000, right? And so and not Georgia, the country, which apparently is the same as Georgia, the state, because it's at 13,000 too. But Georgia, the state, was at 13,000, which is one of the cheapest. I believe Texas was around 16,000, with Oklahoma being around 15,000. And so there was a few good ones. I think Idaho looked really good because it's nice and cold up there. And it was also pretty low, around 14 to 15,000 per Bitcoin. But they have it all marked out here, and it's absolutely insane. I love this chart. so much information here. It does vary extremely widely, so it's really going to be dependent on where a majority of the hash power is. And if we look at that, we know it is the US. And so we know that the average cost to produce a Bitcoin in the United States is $21,000. And that is right on par with what I would assume we sit at with the bear market, meaning we can go down a little bit, but we'll come back up to 21K. We can go a little bit over, but we'll come back down to 21K. And that'll continue until the next halving of Bitcoin. And that's because obviously, like, the United States has a ton of hash power, I think 40% right now at this time. Bitcoin mining has been a highly contested topic lately, with many governments and environmental organizations criticizing its high energy requirements. And while the majority of the data shared by critics could be characterized as misleading, there are countries in the world where mining Bitcoin is both economically and energetically unfeasible. According to research from 911 Metallurgist, mining 1 Bitcoin in Venezuela costs over $246,500. The latest market downturn has pushed Bitcoin's price down to around $20,000, making Venezuela the worst country to mine Bitcoin. Mining ETH in the country is profitable, but with just an estimated cost of around $1,000 and ETH's price now standing at just above $1,100, miners would be just able to break even. Small island nations who have lenient tax laws made them a popular destination for crypto companies aren't that welcoming to mining. Mining 1 Bitcoin on the Solomon Islands currently costs around $142,500. Antigua and Barbuda, Micronesia, Kiribati, Marshall Islands, Maldives, Samoa, Vanuatu. I don't know some of these, actually, to be honest. The Dominica and Tonga all have extremely high electricity prices that render Bitcoin mining impossible. Mining a single Bitcoin in any one of these nations costs between $70,000 and $89,000. Countries with cheaper and more abundant electricity, however, make crypto mining an extremely profitable endeavor. Kuwait is the most profitable country to mine Bitcoin. With the report estimate, it costs around $1,390. At the current market price of just over $20,000, this is a profit of $18,610. In Algeria and Sudan, it costs between $4,200 and $4,800, with both countries providing a profit over $15,000. Yemen, Ethiopia, and Kyrgyzstan require around $7,160 to mine a single Bitcoin, while doing the same in Angola and Qatar will set back miners $7,360. Once accounting for over 3/4 of Bitcoin's entire hash rate, China is no longer the mining hub it once was. The ban introduced the country's central bank in 2021 has exiled all mining operations in the country. While some moved to the neighboring country, Kazakhstan, or moved to it, to make use of the country's abundant coal-powered electricity, many were eyeing less popular locations with cheap electricity. Some countries anticipated an influx of miners and were expedient in passing laws that banned mining before any major operations were set up. Iran, home to the 14th lowest electricity prices in the world, imposed a temporary ban on Bitcoin mining after an influx of farms caused multiple cities to suffer rolling blackouts. Kosovo, a Balkan state whose independence has been highly contested, provided Bitcoin miners with the perfect combination of cheap electricity and political instability that led to it becoming a hotspot for mining. Kosovo's coal plants provide the 16th cheapest electricity in the world. However, the ongoing dispute between Serbia and Kosovo about the sovereignty of the land led to dubious agreements that left it to local governments to absorb the cost of electricity for Kosovo's northern part. Essentially, free electricity made Kosovo a particularly attractive destination for mining in the past several years. But coal plant outages and the rising costs of imported electricity forced the disputed country to introduce an indefinite ban on mining. According to Reuters, mining 1 Bitcoin in Kosovo would currently cost around $10,560, introducing a profit of over $9,500. Following the controversial mining ban in China, a significant number of large mining operations sought refuge in the U.S., seeking vast land, good infrastructure, and low electricity prices. Many miners relocated to Texas and Wyoming. The abundant power in both states means mining one Bitcoin costs around $16,500, presenting a profit of around $3,500, even with Bitcoin's price hovering around $20,000. However, despite the growing number of miners relocating there, Texas doesn't offer the cheapest electricity in the U.S. Instead, the cheapest electricity can be found in Louisiana, where mining one Bitcoin costs $14,995. Other Midwestern states like Arkansas, Wyoming, and Utah require around $16,500 to mine one Bitcoin. Also in Louisiana, not only do you have the heat that you have to worry about in Texas, but you also have the humidity for your hardware, which is why like most of the farms in Texas are in like West Texas where it's drier, or like north in Dallas where it's drier. Plus it's cheaper electricity usually there because they have all the wind farms, etc. Despite the cost of mining Bitcoin being roughly in line with the national average, Georgia has reportedly emerged as the primary crypto mining hub in the U.S., Bloomberg reported earlier this year, citing cryptocurrency company Foundry that miners in Georgia accounted for over 34% of the computing power in its pool, which accounts for 17% of Bitcoin's total hash rate. The outsized mining activity in the country is due to favorable regulations that allowed mining companies to purchase cheap solar and nuclear electricity from nonprofit organizations in the area at about half the price. Mining one Bitcoin with power from Georgia's power grid would cost just over $13,000, according to 911 Metallurgist. And as you can see here, they have the Texas break, or the U.S. breakdown, excuse me. And like I said, okay, so Texas around 16,000, Oklahoma around 15,000, Idaho's around 15,000, and that's up north, which is kind of nice. Wyoming too at 16,000, I believe. Bits is somewhere in that area, which is probably extremely nice to be in that area. And then Georgia at the lowest of 13,143 due to, like they said, those special deals with nonprofits. If you're in Hawaii, Alaska, California, you're probably, struggling. New York has highly increased its price, but up north there are still the hydro plants, but we know all those bans are kind of going into place. It's up to 29,000 for the average. So Massachusetts, extremely expensive. All the northeastern states, pretty expensive to mine a Bitcoin outside of profit, right? So some of these are within profit, some of them are outside of profit. The average, like I said, around 21,000, which is going to be relevant, I think, to the price of Bitcoin during the bear market. That's how I see it. So thanks for checking out this clip from the Crypto Mining Show. You can check out the full episode here or more crypto content down here. Also, I'd like you to check out my locals page at sonofatech.locals.com, where you can become a member for free or choose to be a $5 a month supporter that unlocks additional content.